Appreciate your patience there. I'm excited. Some of you may know me. My name is Matthew Smith with the Rocket Referrals Business Development Team. I'm excited to be on the call this morning and talk to you a little bit about text messaging and how it can impact your business. Some of you all out there may be already existing clients of Rocket Referrals. Some of you may be brand new to what a Rocket Referrals is. So a little bit of background about us. I actually started my career in insurance right here in Des Moines, Iowa, where I'm located downtown today. Looks like I've got a haircut since my, my last picture there. So when I started, it was almost 20 years ago, and things have changed dramatically since that point in time. I remember back then there was a lot of, I used to drive out in the country for hours, a meeting with an entire territory of people. A lot of the referrals that we got back then were coming through old-fashioned methods. That we had Chamber of Commerce meetings and golf courses and BNI meetings and things like that. And since then, technology has really created a paradigm shift. It's like you could feel the tectonic plates moving beneath your feet. The way people share information nowadays has expanded dramatically. Technology, whether it's bringing apps or text messaging or software, certain agencies have been able to really grow their presence beyond just geographical locations into offering services across the country and scaling. But certain things have stayed pretty fundamentally the same. And that is really the nature of our industry, is it's a relationship-based industry. And so the agencies that have found a way to marry those two things together to bring the best of the old with the best of the new are the agencies that are staying competitive. They're the agencies that are really thriving in today's market, because they figured out how to scale, which is when you begin as an agent, a lot of times those first 10, 50, 100 clients, they're getting a lot of you, right? And when there's only one of you, there's a lot more of you to go around with 10 people, and you can do all this stuff by hand, right? You can write all the cards by hand. You can go ahead and, text people individually when they have a claim, or when you just want to check in to see how they're doing. But when you start to get 1,000 clients or 500 clients and you start to hire on new people, how do you replicate the same best practices that you did when you started the agency, when you started as an agent? How do you replicate that with the team, right? How do you make sure that there's no clients slipping through the cracks? And so those kind of things allow you to take it to a next level. I had an old business coach said, Matthew, whatever got you to this point is not going to be what gets you to the next point. In other words, if you want to take this business to be 10 times what it looks like today, you're going to need to have bigger scaffolding to hold the weight of the structure that you want to build. So today we're going to talk a little bit about text messaging for your business, how that comes into the equation. And how it will improve your retention, how it'll improve your referral activity, how it'll improve your cross-selling opportunities. And ultimately, it's one of the best investments that you can make as a company. So many companies out there I see making the mistakes of trying to boil the ocean. And for those of you, you know what I'm talking about there, which is trying to take people who are prospects who know nothing about you and turn them into clients, is like somewhat like turning a lump of coal into a diamond, right? What's a lot easier is taking existing relationships that you already have, clients that already love you, that you've invested years in creating great experiences for those people, tapping into those relationships right in your backyard and using them for organic referral growth. And the reason that is a better way to spend your time and money, is because people who come from referrals tend to be like your existing clients, right? They tend to stay longer, they buy more products. Many of them end up being referral sources, and they tend to be the type of clients that you want, better quality insureds. So let's get into it. I want you to start by thinking about what it feels like to be a client of yours. Now, you might not have thought about this for a while, but this is empathy, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to put yourself into the shoes of one of your customers and pretend for a second that you have a problem. Maybe it's a claim that you need to file. Maybe it's your rate increased and you don't understand why it did. Whatever it is, pick a situation and pretend for a second that you are your own customer. Now, to be truly empathetic about it and not sympathetic, now pretend like you don't know anything about insurance, which is going to be the harder thing for you to do. And all you want to do is get an answer from somebody because you're confused. So when you try to get a hold of your agent, one, is there a real person on the other end of the line? I talk with a lot of agencies. One of the first things that many agencies do is go straight into a call tree, and you have to press one for this, press two for this. The longer you have to wait to kind of get an answer, and the more you have to leave messages and things like that, the more frustrating it is, because you just really want to talk to someone and get an answer quick, right? So one, is there a real person on the other end? Do you get one-on-one attention? Does that real and three, are there many channels out there to communicate with? In other words, do I have to only do it via email? Is there somebody that I can call? Is there a website that I can go on and just chat with a live support person? Is there somebody I can text and get an answer back that way? I've had this problem when I'm dealing with my cell phone provider. It used to be Sprint. And I'd want a question. I call and I get into a phone waiting line, and then I'd go on to their website while I was on hold, and I would go ahead and I type in a chat. And sometimes you don't really want to talk to people. Sometimes you just want to get an answer real quick. Um, so I liked it when there was a couple different ways I could get that answer, and some of them were quicker than others. The other thing is, can I communicate how I want, when I want? And does it feel like from the company's point of view, does it feel like the company only communicates with me when they want something? Or does it feel like they really are caring and concerned about my needs and empathetic to my situation? There's a lot of companies that don't have any communication plan at all. They're just reactive. They take it as it comes. They react to, they're always putting out fires, but they don't have anything proactive to check in with clients throughout the year to see how they're doing. Just to say hi, to send them something personal, or to try to. So from the customer's point of view, it only feels like the company's reaching out when they want money. Either renewals, or claims, but that's the only time they hear from them. So ask yourself the real hard question: how does it feel like to be a customer of your own company? And then we'll have to figure out whether there's ways that we can potentially improve those. So think about some of the companies that you currently work with, some of the that you really love. There's certain brands out there that you really enjoy. We have a couple of office dogs here. There's a company called Chewy that does dog food. When you get dog food, they actually have somebody at the company that writes a personal handwritten note for you that comes with your orders. It feels good. You feel like even though they're a big company, it feels more local and personal, like there's somebody there who's kind of working with you, that you have a relationship with. So think of other companies like that you like. Netflix, for example. I use this analogy a lot, but I watch a show like British Bake Off. They're going to say, hey, Matthew, you might like this show, Iron Chef, right? So are they treating you like an individual, getting to know you, making suggestions that are based upon you? Or are they just treating you one size fits all, like you're getting the same thing that everybody else at the company gets, right? Amazon is really good at making intelligent suggestions as well. Sometimes people like going to, Target has a certain feel to it. These are brands that have a very high reputation in the industry, and it's because they've worked and spent billions and billions of dollars on customer experience. But these companies all use similar communication methods. They found that they don't rely too heavily on one channel. They're using emails for certain types of things. They're using phone calls for other things. They're using text messaging. They're using web chat. They're using mail. And it's really not just about the type of communication. It's how you use it. It's how you make people feel with those types of communication. There's that old quote that we've heard before from Maya Angelou. It's not how people forget what you say and they forget what you did, but they never forget how you made them feel. So how do you use technology to make people feel special, to make them feel seen, to make them feel not like a number? And so a couple things to do that. One of which is you got to make it personal. You got to stop talking at your clients and really start building relationship with them. And to do that, the timing of the communication and the types of communication really matter. I'll give you a couple examples of these. There's a lot of companies that you're on their mailing list, right? And we all know what it feels like to be on a mailing list. What does an email look like when it comes from a mailing list? Well, it's usually a fancy template. It's usually like, "Hi, Matthew." And then it's like a couple paragraphs that you can tell were not written for you, but they were written for everybody. And so you're like, oh, and most of the time, those things get deleted pretty quickly. So a personal email has a different feel about it. It feels conversational. It feels like sometimes it has exclamation points or emojis or smiley faces or more of a relaxed feeling about it. So one of the reasons why Rocket Referrals doesn't use fancy templates and we use plain text-based emails and things like that in our text messaging is because it feels like a person is doing it. It should feel like it's coming from your CSR or the agency principal who thought of you, sent you an email, typed it up themselves. Ideally, you don't want that. If you're using third-party software companies like Rocket Referrals or any company, you shouldn't feel like those companies even exist. If we've done our job, people don't know that we exist. Human touches are really important. There's two groups of people that you'll see that there's cards on the screen here as well. And one of the things that we found is old or young, people need the human touch. They're longing for connection. Technology is wonderful to make our lives easier, but it's not really good all the time on making you feel seen or connected to on a human to human level. So things like handwritten cards are really important to create that special feeling, getting it on the timing right, like we said on the previous slide, getting it to show up right on the person's birthday, remembering to say please and thank you like they told us in kindergarten, right, when someone makes a referral. Surprising people on a random Tuesday morning with something that they didn't expect. That's the human touch. That's how you make people feel special. So how does text messaging kind of fit into this whole equation? Well, there are certain strengths and weaknesses to text messaging. So we got to make sure that we're using it right and we're using it at the right time. So one of the great things about text messages is that they generally get immediate responses. So if you need something really quickly, you're going to want to do texting. I'll show you, for example, I use texting right here. So this is actually a Rocket Referrals app that's on your iPhone or your Android device. This was a guy, I needed to chat with him right now. So I said, hey, David, is now still a good time to chat? Wanted to answer some of the questions that you emailed over. He said, how about noon? I said, yeah, that'll work, no problem. You can use the same meeting link or I could text him over a meeting link. That was a great engagement for text messaging. I just needed something quick to see if he was still available. He said yes back. I could send him over a link to my calendar. Boom, scheduled, right? Perfect. So it forces concise messages. It is always available and it's generally less clutter. So there's also certain types of people that you work with that prefer texting over emails. And if we go back to what I was talking about earlier, the need to be empathetic with how you're treating your clients, you really need to apply not the golden rule, but the platinum rule, right? And some of you know the difference, but for those of you who don't, the golden rule says you treat others the way that you want to be treated. The platinum rule is you try to treat other people the way that they would want to be treated. So you got to imagine what it would be like to be 25 again, or what it would be like to be a busy business owner who doesn't have time to always check their emails. They prefer just a quick text sometimes. So for the clients that do like those types of things, try to give them it the way that they want. So some of the weaknesses of text messaging is that it does force you to be concise, right? There's the old joke that says, I would have written you a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. So if you tend to ramble on, guilty of it, I'm working on it, it's going to force you to be concise because you don't have paragraphs. So that is a weakness of text messaging. Regulation, we're going to get into that here in a second. Texting is an area for businesses that is highly regulated. They don't want people to be spamming massive lists of people. They want to make sure that you've got permissions in place. So if you're going to do texting, you're going to have to make sure that you're aware of those or partner with companies that are aware, that have best practices in place so you don't get yourself in hot water. Um, Other things that you're going to want to do is how available are you, right? So that if people are texting you, are you going to be available, or is someone on your team going to be available? The other weaknesses is Sometimes it's poor deliverability on a text at the carrier level. So you're going to want to make sure that you're getting opt-ins and permissions and that you're following the regulations. We'll get into that here in a second as well. And how do you know what people like? How do you know which of your clients prefer text messaging over emails? So let's talk a little bit about how texting can benefit your agency. So people read text. We've seen studies that show that text open rates are as high as 98%. For comparison purposes, MailChimp once did a study, and they looked in the insurance industry, and email open rates were sub 5%. Now, in Rocket Referrals, when we're emailing people things like surveys, we're getting about a 40 to 45% open rate on our email net promoter surveys, for example. So we're vastly higher than the industry open rates, but we're still not at 98% for an email. So you can get a lot more open rates and eyeballs on your texts. Secondly, the response rates are astronomical. People tend to respond to text in under 90 seconds. The other thing is I've had my same phone number since I was 20, 21. I'm not going to tell you how old that makes me, but people don't generally change their phone numbers. So texting can be a great option if you have incomplete client contact information. Many of you, and I know who you are out there because I've seen your management systems before, and you don't always have perfect data in there. Some of you have 30% email penetration with your clients. Some of you are 50, 60, and some of you are doing pretty good up in the 80s or 90s. If you don't have all your client information, a text message can be a good option to have open channels of communication with people you might not otherwise been able to reach. If a client is not responsive to other communication methods, texting can be a great way to reach them. One of the things that Rocket Referrals can do is if we send out, for example, a check-in survey periodically twice a year, and we see a client doesn't automatically respond to a email, we can try that in the future using a text. And the great thing about that is when it answers the question earlier that I asked on the previous slide, which is how do we know what people prefer? Well, we know what they prefer based upon how they respond. It's people who respond to text messages who haven't responded to emails are indicating to us their preference. So our software is learning as it goes based upon people's responses what they prefer. And it's automatically able in the future to provide a better experience by delivering to people what they want. So there's the age issue, right? So a lot of us working in the insurance industry, for myself, I was born in, well, I'm going to give it away now. I was born in 1975. I'm actually a Gen Xer here, right? So I grew up with 1 foot pre-internet and 1 foot post-internet. I was right on the dividing line of that. People in millennials and members of Gen Z especially value the convenience of text messaging. I mean, a lot of things are in auto bill pay. A lot of things are direct messages for communication. So if you're forcing your clients to communicate in the way that you want to communicate, email, calls, mail, but you're not giving them the experience that they want, then they're going to go somewhere else. I'll give you a really good example of this. I generally am a very loyal person. I like to promote companies that I enjoy that have done a good job servicing our family. Um, there's a bank that I work with that's local. They're an old school bank, and I enjoy the people that are there. I enjoy the relationship that I've had with them over the years, and I've promoted them and told other colleagues and friends, sent business to them. But the challenge is as much as I love them as people, they're a challenge to work with from a technology point of view. Their website is outdated. They don't integrate very well with other tools that I use. So if you use, TurboTax or you use Mint or you use certain apps, these apps automatically sync with modern banks. So I can get all the different tools that I use for efficiency and to work together. And they don't work very well. They're outdated. So as much as I want to be a really big promoter and send everybody I know there, I'm reserved about doing so because I know that people like me will have the same challenges that I have. So if you are struggling to grow and your book is starting to age and you're asking yourself, how do we capture a younger audience? And you don't have a future planned out that includes text messaging as a part of it, then you are really missing the boat. And you're going to be fighting upstream to gather those clients because you're not going to be able to deliver the experiences that they want. So some communications are not as effective via text message. So if your point is to make people feel special, like wishing them a happy birthday or saying thank you for a referral, that is better to spend a little bit of time on those person, or at least give them the feeling that some time and thought was put into it. A handwritten card is a great way to do that. The thing about the cards, when I get a card, this is one, for example, that we use on like a holiday card. When somebody writes me a card, which I've gotten a couple in the last couple weeks, I can imagine them actually sitting down and writing that to me. I knew they took time to do that. They thought, and they sent it to me specifically, so I felt special for a moment, and that's what you want to do for those meaningful touches like birthdays and thank yous, right? So texting are not ideal for that. It's better to do the old school stuff when it comes to that. Um, Communications that require a lot of detail or explanation, like a cross-selling campaign, the importance of this certain types of umbrella policy or life insurance or cyber liability, that's not the best use for the texting either. If you're trying to share information, articles of interest, podcast videos, and you want to be able to say, hey, I found this article the other day, and I was thinking about you, and here's why it's important. Too much content to try to jam into a text, right? That's 15 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound sack. You want to use an email for something like that. So make sure you're using the right communication for the right channel. There are some messages that work really well via text. I already showed you one on my phone, like those appointment reminders. Hey, we got an appointment coming up, or our review. Um, of your coverages or renewal reviews, if you do those with commercial lines, those are great for text. Net promoter surveys, they're really short and sweet. If you're not using net promoter surveys right now, that's probably one of the biggest changes you could make this year that will dramatically affect both your retention and growth. If you can't kind of explain what you're doing as a process, then you don't know what you're doing, right? You might be getting lucky, and you might be, fortunate to be able to be continuing to grow. But if you can't explain it as a process, why what you're doing is working, what's not working, then you're just guessing. So net promoter surveys are ways that you can actually track what's working and what's not, learn about your business. What are those key performance indicators that are moving the needles? How do we get better by improving our problem areas? How do we capitalize on our clients that love us to turn it into referrals? Net promoter surveys are great for tracking those types of things, and text messaging is a great way to get those out. Review request. Some of you are doing online reviews, some of you aren't. I can tell which ones of you aren't because you got 3.7 stars online, and you got one review from an ex-employee who was really mad and they gave you a 1-star review, and then you got a client who loved you who gave you a 5-star review, and everybody online, that averages out to 3 stars, and that's what everybody thinks of you online. There's an opportunity to really improve your local presence to gather more leads from Google search, and clients that love you would be happy to do that if you make it easy for them. But many of you don't have any systems in place to make it easy for clients that love you to promote you. And think about a positive claim experience. Clients are hot. They just they feel good. They love you. They're strike while the iron's hot. Get out a review request to that client. Once you find clients via the surveys who are a 10 out of 10 saying that they would refer you, get a follow-up out to them, within a week, saying, hey, I've made it easy for you. Here's a link. It'd mean a lot if we could meet more people like you. Click this link and it'll take you straight to our Google review site, and then just paste in this comment that you left from the survey. That's a great use of a text message, right? Account alerts, like brief communications, like a quick welcome message. time-sensitive information, like things that are coming out, if like a recent storm or office hour change, things like that. Those are information that work really well via text message. So if you're going to do this, you're going to need to do it right. Okay. And what that means is that there's some regulations out there that you need to be aware of, and you need to be partnering with companies that are aware of those and that have steps in place to make sure that you're compliant and you're doing this correctly. There's one that's called the A2P10DLC. That is a long string of letters and numbers right there, but it means an application to person 10-digit long code. So what's happening in the industry is, do you remember a long time ago when a lot of us used to use like our Yahoo and our Hotmail and our Gmail addresses? Some of you out there are still doing it. I see you doing it. But most of us have actually migrated, and we now have our own dedicated company email addresses, right? Like Matthew@rocketreferrals.com, Dan@jurgensinsurance.com. That's the way that the email industry evolved. The same kind of evolution is happening in the text messaging world. So if you're using a local number to text your clients, this rule is saying that you are going to have to register the campaigns for each type of message that you're sending, like surveys, review requests, etc. Local numbers will be charged $4 a month per brand and $10 a month per campaign. There's also going to be per message fees on local phone numbers. And also the carrier, the messages that come from unregistered brands may not get delivered at all and may be subject to fines. So there's also, you have TCPA Compliance, which is really about regulations that apply to telemarketing calls and text messaging. So these are also applying to the way that you're texting your clients. So some of the things that you're going to need to be doing is you're going to need to be gathering opt-ins. So I'm not sure how many of you out there are currently getting permissions and opt-ins from clients for text messaging, but you need to be doing it. This should be something that you're doing with every single customer that comes through the door. You should be gathering opt-ins. You should have opt-out options for clients who no longer want to receive text messages. You should be avoiding soliciting them between 9 p.m. at night and 8 in the morning. You should be training your team on compliance. So these are the things that you need to be aware of. Rocket Referrals is working to make sure that the companies that we work with, agencies that we work with, are compliant with this and that we're compliant with this. We're integrating with TCR to auto register numbers where any fees would be added to your bill automatically. One of the things that we're seeing more people doing is actually selecting 800 numbers to avoid fees, because those rules don't apply. The rules back here that I was talking about, the application to person 10-digit long code, those don't apply to 800 numbers, so you're not going to get charged the fees. Companies are saying, hey, listen, we're going to go with an 800 number as our business line. The same way we move from Hotmail or AOL to our own email addresses, we're going to go with an 800 number to avoid having those fees tagged to our accounts. And so you can start to put those 800 numbers in your signature lines on your email. Each of your producers or CSRs could have their own extension, so people would know when that a text is coming from that number. It's from a person that they've worked with in the past. We're timestamping and recording all the conversations that are happening via text message so that you have a record of all those. Anyone can opt out easily at any time. We have single and double opt out. We can also automatically gather opt-ins from new and existing clients. So once you have established these best practices, right? So you're gathering permissions and opt-ins from new clients. The other thing that's really important is that you need to be organizing and capturing mobile numbers from new clients and putting it into your management system, right? So it might be something that you haven't done up till now. You might have not designated your mobile numbers in your management system. That's something you want to get on top of. Maybe it's something that you put a business process around renewal times when your Pulling up somebody's account for renewal when you're talking to them on the phone. Make sure you got a good recent contact information for them. Make sure that's in your management system so that information can be pulled through. Um, Make sure with all new clients that are coming through, you're getting basic information, not only their name, get their nicknames, because when we're texting people, it'd be great if we could, if William goes by Bill and we're sending Bill a text, we want to be able to call him Bill. Hey, Bill, type of thing. So you need to get nicknames in your systems. Make sure you're getting their emails, make sure you're getting their mobile numbers. So if you don't have the data in the management system, then systems like Rocket Referrals can't pull that data, and you're not going to be able to be firing on all cylinders. And if you're racing another car and you're not firing on all cylinders, you're going to lose that race. And so this is really important. Now, once you do have these things in place, and we have account managers here at Rocket Referrals that will help coach you through this. They work with agencies across the country. They can help you get the texting set up properly. They can show you how to enter this information into your management system so that it's pulling over. They can help set up the campaigns that will actually begin to get requests that people do opt in. Rocket Referrals will manage all that process. So if someone opts out, we won't text them, those types of things. But now that you've got a system in place and you've got software like Rocket Referrals powering it, you have the ability not just to text one person and make that one person's day better. We have the ability to create automated text campaigns with people who have opted in, so we can create a better experience for everybody that's in your company. And this is really the power of texting to scale. Some of you have texting inside of your management systems, but it's maybe text to email. It may be allowing you to text one person at a time, but the difference between like one at a time and automated is like the difference between a single shot revolver and a machine gun, right? The ability to kind of do a lot more. So this is what we can start to do. So to kind of recap here, what we talked about today, it's really personal and quality communication with clients that is the fundamental basis of our industry, right? People have plenty of options out there with your Geicos of the world and other direct options that they can go to, but they're going to continue to choose the independent agent because they're getting a better experience. They have better relationships with somebody who's local. So if that's your real value proposition as an agency, then you need to be putting a focus on this. And you need to make sure that all channels of communication are open and optimized. That's what's going to drive retention increases, referral gains, and better cross-selling with less work. Number two, it's not the type of communication that you have, it's how you use it, right? It's getting the right feeling to the clients at the right times. Remember, what's good with texting, what's good with cards, what's better for email. These are all important. That's why it's important to partner with companies that actually are testing these things every day to see what's working and then applying those principles automatically, so you can stand on the shoulder of giants of people who've already learned those lessons and just get the benefit of all of our back end work. Text messaging can help grow relationships with clients, especially younger audiences that you want to tap into in the future. I don't know if you know this, but statistically, millennials are a larger generation than even the baby boomers. It's I think 76 million to 74, so somewhere around there. So it's going to open up new channels. So the other thing is it's important to understand what kind of messages are effective via text. We talked a little bit about that and some of the drawbacks. And if you're going to do it in a compliant way and do it right. One of the, and when it comes to Rocket Referrals, this is something that we've all got lined up for you. It's perfectly timed. It's personalized client communications using email, cards, text messages. We got a really neat web chat feature now as well. So if clients are going to your website and they're asking questions about existing coverage, or the prospects are going to your website and they're starting a new small business and they have questions, or they're looking to get insurance on their new home that they purchased, we can install a chat widget or a chat bot on your website that will actually notify you directly on that same phone app. So if I have a prospect that's messaging me on my website, I get those notifications on my phone or on my desktop at work, so that I can never miss an opportunity to close a sale or connect with the client who's got a question. So these are all things that Rocket Referrals can help with. We also have These are all real-time conversations with clients. The nice thing is that if a message comes in, you can assign it to the right person on the team who should be handling those types of questions. As an agency principal, you're able to see all the conversations that your clients are having with customers. And you can even, if an employee leaves, as opposed to them having those text conversations on their own personal cell phones, which go with them when they leave, if somebody leaves your organization and you've been using Rocket Referrals, you have a digest of all the conversations that they've had with the clients. It's easy to delete their employee profile and reassign that to somebody else that's new. And you're not going to end up with an I mean, it helps with things like E&O claims when you have the record of being able to see those conversations that were had. We also have text-enabled Net Promoter surveys and review requests ready to go. Every employee can have their own number. If you do want to pay to use a local number, that is something that we have available still for you. There might be some additional charges in the future for doing that versus the 800 line. We are TCPA ready, and we have the ability to port over existing numbers. So the good news about all this is that even though Rocket Referrals can do all these types of things, it's set up for you in about an hour. So if you are not using Rocket Referrals yet, if you want text messaging to be a part of the future of your agency, if this is something that you've been putting off for too long and you know it's a need, as well as the other things that we talked about, better automated communication cards and emails, surveys, and things like that, we can have most agencies set up in about an hour. Rocket Referrals actually works with all the agency management systems out there, whether you're on Hawksoft, Applied TAM, Epic, EasyLinks, QQ, AMS 360, Agency Mate, you name it. We're working with all of these different management systems. You do get a 20% discount through Pekin, which is phenomenal. It's not something that you can get elsewhere. So that almost makes this a no-brainer as well. Also, the fact that there are no long-term contracts, there's no setup fees, there's no cost for the training and the support and the education and coaching that you get from your account management team here at Rocket Referrals. Think of them like your own CSRs that will help you get this up and going. If you need training for your team on how to use this, we can do those on the group calls. We also have a link that Lauren just put in the chat. If you wanted to kind of hop on a call with myself or Kaylee or Celia on our team, get a little bit more understanding about how this works with your own specific agency management system, or maybe to talk through a little bit what you're doing for texting right now, or what other tools you may have in place currently that you want to consolidate. Some of you might be using RingCentral or MailChimp or Constant Contact or Zywave or Agency Revolution. You're saying, hey, is there a way that we can get our left hand to know what our right hand is doing and combine these all onto one platform that can do it all and work with our management system and get the 20% discount? Then use that link, schedule a call with me, and I'll go ahead and walk you through any questions that you have that we didn't cover on the phone call today. If you want to bring in some other people on your team, your marketing people, other agency, other partners, or CSRs, producers, to get their buy-in or see if they think that it would be a good fit, happy to walk you through on a demo of the software. So that's really it. That's kind of how texting can be a benefit to your agency. I'm going to go ahead and open it up and see if anybody has any questions or things that I didn't cover that we could answer for you today. Go ahead and put those down in the chat dialogue here. I'll do my best to get those answered. If you are using tools currently like a RingCentral or a ZipWhip, and you would like to use those existing numbers but pick up some of the automation and intelligence that Rocket Referrals has, we do have the ability to sync or connect with those existing lines that you have. You'd still be able to use those platforms, but now you're going to be picking up automated campaigns and all the other capabilities that Rocket Referrals has to offer. Anybody have any questions that I can answer for you? Great question, Hillary. We are less inclined to put a number on the amount of touches that you do. We're more concerned with the quality rather than the quantity. Um, so for example, I'll give you let's take an average customer that's getting communication from an agency who's using Rocket Referrals. They're a new customer. Within the first 100 days, we suggest that they're going to be getting a welcome email that comes out within the first 24 to 48 hours. So that should show that the agency is prompt, that they're on the ball, they're getting information in the hands of the customer that they need to know quickly. And it may be introducing their CSR. It might be telling them how to get a hold of us if they have any questions, things like that. We suggest new clients are getting a welcome card within 3 to 5 business days. A handwritten card should be in the mail. It should arrive at their place of work or their home within that period of time. All new customers should probably be getting a Net Promoter Survey as well to see how their onboarding experience is and to identify whether that new client is somebody who is a potential referral source. If we find that that person is a referral source, that they have good things to say, that they're happy with their onboarding and how you've taken care of them, we're going to make sure that that new client is someone who leaves us a Google review or testimonial for our website. So those are some of the touches that a new client would receive. Existing clients, what we suggest is a blend of communications that's personal, educational, and some of it's policy related. So some of the touches that an existing client should get, we suggest that they get a Net Promoter Survey 2 times a year, like a doctor's visit or a Fitbit bracelet, checking on them every 6 months apart. We also suggest that there's a personal touch that's going out. We are big fans of birthdays and holidays because we know people are getting together with friends and family, having conversations, and we want our promoters thinking about us there. So we suggest that you send a birthday card and a holiday greeting to clients, especially your promoters. Outside of that, we're suggesting maybe renewal check-ins for clients. We have an educational tool called Rocket Connect that takes your library of articles, videos, and podcasts, and it monitors for gaps in communication. So it's not a traditional newsletter. It's saying, hey, Joyce over here has gone 45 days without getting anything from the agency. Let's grab one of our articles from our library, send her an email that tells her we were thinking about her and we found this article that we thought she might be interested in the other day, and here's why we picked it for her. So you'll notice that this is a much more organic approach to client communication that's less like on a scheduler, and it feels more like a person is behind it in doing it, because as we do with our relationships with our families and friends, it just kind of happens when things happen in life. And that's the feel, that's the organic feel that Rocket Referrals does to make people feel like they're not a number. So if you kind of counted those all up, it might be somewhere between 5 to 8 different touches throughout the year, but the touches that they're getting are meaningful, memorable, and make them feel like they're personally connected with. So hopefully that helped and answered the question, Hillary. But if not, you can type in, I can get some more clarification around that. Anybody else have any questions about anything that I could answer for you while you got me here? Yeah, this is definitely where the future is going. So whether we like what the future looks like or not, we need to be prepared for it. And this is something that you should not be putting off. Go ahead and start doing the data collection efforts. Reach out to us. We'll help you kind of get some systems in place. Think of it like spring cleaning. We'll help you eat the elephant one bite at a time. It makes this whole process a lot easier when you have somebody there to hold your hand and walk you through it. And if you can just do a little bit a day, like just a couple of new emails, new text messages, opt-ins a day, a couple mobile numbers added to your management system a day, someone at Rocket Referrals holding your hand and kind of giving you support. It's like getting a gym membership that comes with a personal trainer to it. We're going to help you get where you need to be. And this time next year, you're not going to be able to recognize the changes that have happened in your agency to the positive as a result of improved relationships across the board. So I want to thank everybody for hopping on the webinar today. Definitely reach out to me if you have any questions. Matthew@rocketreferrals.com. You can email me directly or use that link, rocketreferrals.com/Pekin to schedule a demo, and we'll get any more questions you have answered at that point in time. So thanks for coming out, and you all enjoy your week, and we'll hope to talk to you soon.